I recently made a video describing some tactics on how to gear up your freshly level 30 character from 0 to 256 gear level as fast as possible. So it only seemed fair that I level up a new character and put my own advice to the test. Here is how the story unfolded. I had exactly 1 day, 16 hours and 54 minutes played when I dinged 30 and fast travelled back to the boo. Almost immediately a supply drop triggered, which was located about 1 click down the road behind the base of operation. I can only speculate it was a level 30 bonus from my season pass DLC. I headed straight off down the road where I found it protected by a fuck ton of level 30 elites, and at the same time managed to arse pull a bunch of non-elite mobs on the overpass above me. A battle ensued which involved much hiding, running and dive forward rolling, but after a significant amount of fuckery and violence I managed to finally enforce sufficient freedom on the streets of New York to ensure every last motherfucker was dead. After all that, the supply drop loot was frankly a dick punch, being 3 variations of level 163 bag. I equipped one and mentally assigned the other 2 to the bin. On the upside, I was at least now 18 gear score out of the gate. I then headed straight off to finish the rest of my main questline missions, side missions and safe house missions as per my own guide. I suddenly realised that the second you hit level 30, vendor prices skyrocketed out of my reach. At level 29 I could afford high-end level 29 items, but the second I dinged 30, the vendors were selling level 30 purples at a massively increased price. I suddenly felt like Manhattan's many civilians in need who wandered the streets begging division agents for cans of soda. This might seem like semantics, but since they mostly show their appreciation by giving me a wide variety of combat weapons and military equipment, I'm actually starting to suspect that they might just be very polite looters. But I digress. I crafted a couple of level 89 blue gear items with the few materials I had, having basically sold all old gear all the way through levelling. This combined with a few lucky drops and I'm 89 gear level. Intel missions opened up, so I decided to check some of those out and cap the Russian consulate mission. Did an intel mission and got a 163 mask, then I realised that gear score was shooting up and down like a yo-yo and wasn't even accurate whilst you had a mix of gear score and sub-level 30 items. Still, I didn't pay too much attention to this since soon all my low-level items would be gone anyway. The search and destroy intel missions were a clear win so far. The Russian consulate mission also gave me 3 163 weapons and didn't take that long. My first proficiency cache gave me 2 163 gear items. I also observed that doing even the most numpty quests was now giving a regular supply of 163 high-end items too. So I'm 1 day, 19 hours, 56 minutes played, and I'm gear level 138. So it's taken me about 3 hours to get from 0 to 138, which isn't disgraceful. It's very apparent that the northeast portion of the map is brimming with last man battalion patrols, and I'm killing them on sight for XP and gear drops. 1 day, 22 hours, 1 minute played, and I'm gear level 141. It's been really slow, but finally cleared all of my main questline missions. So I hit the boo, recalibrated my chest and bag into armour, allowing me to use an item with the gear talent that lets me get 5% of my skill damage back as health, and I also recalibrated my gloves to assault rifle damage. With hindsight, I came up with a theory why my luck seemed to be coming in waves. I guess when all your gear is shit, then if any 163 item drops, it's guaranteed to be of benefit. But as more and more of your gear gets replaced with 163 items, the likelihood increases that when a bit of loot drops, you'll already have a 163 item in that slot. So replacing the last few shitty items becomes much more of a lottery. Then you bump it up into the next world tier and the same process happens again. Your first 182 item is a guaranteed boost, but as more of your items become 182, replacing those last few 163 items becomes statistically less likely in any given drop. Then you're chasing 204 items, and I think you get the picture now. I guess the moral of the story is that when you first hit a world tier, there's a lot of low-hanging fruit. But when you hit the dip, just hang in there. Your fate is now in the hands of RNGesus. Well, back to the story. Suddenly 2 new missions have popped up, or more likely I was just too tunnel vision to notice them earlier. Did one, and it was for the underground introduction mission.
Good.
Once capped, I did one fast underground on normal difficulty and then changed to world tier 2. I completed my last story mission and headed off on my first world tier 2 named boss run. Halfway through the first named boss run, thanks to all the drops, I'm now gear level 182, rocking a 204 light machine gun with 2 pieces of set gear which I haven't put on yet, and then I switch it up to world tier 3. At this point, things started to get a bit gnarly, mainly due to my incredibly sophisticated gearing philosophy, which went something like this. Put on the bit of gear with the highest number next to it, and don't give 2 shits what the stats are. Whilst this was doing wonders for my gear score, the random selection of crap that I'd been throwing on my back had resulted in me turning into a total glass cannon, with virtually all my gear being main stat firearms. I was now way too squishy. To save time, I'd just been ignoring the problem, assuming it would rectify itself as I got more drops and things would just magically balance themselves out. Unfortunately, RNGesus decided to give me a big Cleveland steamer and no stamina gear dropped. This all came to a head on the named boss Chains. For those of you who don't know Chains, he is a big dumb fuck with tons of armour and health, and his strategy is basically walking towards you relentlessly firing his light machine gun. I'd love to say I put up a valiant fight, but it was actually more like a game of whack-a-mole, where the mallet was Chains' machine gun and my face was the mole. Every time I popped my head up to fire from cover, stray shots were destroying my small HP pool, and you guessed it, I died. After dying on Chains, I immediately decamped to the boo, re-specced into armour and stamina, and once I was no longer rocking such a fucky gear setup, went back to Chains, and I quickly and mercilessly dispatched him, everyone that knew him, his mother, his pet handbag dog, and all the other named bosses. I gathered my filthy loot, put some on, and I was ready to go up to World Tier 4. 2 days, 0 hours, 11 minutes played. So I'm 7 hours in, and I'm on World Tier 4, and my item level is 199. A single World Tier 4 Lex run on Challenging, and I'm 226, and World Tier 5. Now I'm running Lexington on World Tier 5 on Challenging, and it's basically the home stretch. Next Lexington run on World Tier 5 I was 241. I'm always the lowest geared guy, but I make sure I don't die often and nobody kicks me. A few Lex runs later and I get a 256 mod, and it was in the bag at just over 9 hours of fairly relaxed play whilst also keeping a written journal, so not bad. By sheer fluke, I had almost exactly 2 million division credits when I was 253. And at 253 I could have just bought a mask, a 256 mask to cap, but I decided to follow through with the plan and stick to my own strategy guide. In the end it took me approximately the last 27 minutes to cap that last one item. So, one day, 16 hours, 54 minutes at gear level 0, 9 hours later, I'm 256. My key observations were these. Kill everyone. If it's red, it's fucking dead. Avoid spending lots of time fiddling with gear and mods. Following on from this, most gear choices are simply highest gear level item gets slapped on. Periodically, just wipe out lower level stuff arbitrarily, like gun mods. Just pick a level and just vendor all of the mods from that level down. It saves you loads of time later fussing over decisions. Also, unlock any and all nearby fast travel points, including DZ checkpoints. This saves travel time and should be obvious. I was also lucky to find some firearms plus 6% XP mods at I think the meat locker, but I have to admit, plus XP seems to synergise incredibly well with high level content and especially fast Lex runs. But at the start it was barely noticeable and certainly not worth relying on. Also, once the 256 and gear sets start dropping, I found myself spending much more time tinkering with gear, whereas previously I didn't give a shit and just boshed out decisions fast. The only problem I had was when slapping on new gear it turned me into a glass cannon and I had to go and reconfigure some stamina and armour. And let's face it, the world bosses were awesome for boosting my gear, as was Lexington. Basically, once I got to the point where I was running Lex on challenging, I knew it was in the bag. But here's a few tips for Lex at low gear score. Play the grey man. Don't draw attention to yourself by dying a lot, getting lost, or spending 5 minutes checking out that oh so groovy echo on the second floor. If the group is working, nobody will look down at the gear scores. Be helpful. Run a flame turret, revive people, and heal. If your gear and weapons are dog shit, just run an LMG so people see you suppressing the enemy. Whatever weapon you run though, use a silencer with threat reduction. Don't use a loud vent break. Also, don't cheap out on normal frag grenades, you can replace them at the booth. If you have exotic ammo, use that too. As long as you don't slow the group down, you stay alive and you are helpful, most players won't give a shit about your gear score. Your gear score will be the excuse people use to kick you, not the reason. Lastly, and very importantly, loot as soon as Barrett dies. Run straight at that green shard of awesomeness and loot all. Some people reset almost immediately and you might lose your loot. So if you see that loot, run through the mobs, go and grab it. And if, by a miracle, you get Barrett's bulletproof vest, don't fucking give it away or vendor it. It's the rarest chest in the game. So there you have it. If you follow my instructions from a previous video, link in the description, it's entirely possible to ding 30 in the morning and log out in the evening at item level 256. But my last parting shot would be this point inspired by another player. Just remember that there is no law that says you have to inject energy drinks into your fucking eyeballs, sniff crushed caffeine pills and power level your gear to 256. There is nothing wrong with just relaxing, kicking back and leveling at your own pace. Hell, you'll probably enjoy the game more if you do. If this was helpful or entertaining in any way, or you just don't know what a Cleveland steamer is, please feel free to use the comment section, subscribe or mash the like button. God knows the price of crack has gone through the roof and I can use all the help I can get. Peace.